It's kind of weird and nice doing this at the same time.
Shut the fuck up, I'm busy. Cool. He said, what's that? What did you say?
I said it's kind of like weird and nice doing this at the same time.
Why weird? I know nice. I know why nice. I don't know why weird.
Because we've been doing this for like, what, year and a half now?
Longer. We
started a year and a half. Started in June.
Did we?
Yeah. June or July. You can check from the first video.
June. Oh.
Yeah, either June or July, yeah. Been a year and a half.
I don't see this as... I still think we're in the beginning phase. As much as we're familiar with everything, like this is like a ritual and a standard thing we do, procedure, whatever, it's still early, like very, very, very early. Like you said, Jargon's been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
Chucky's been doing it for about 10 years. So yeah, so this is early bird, which is amazing because we have the freedom to fuck up, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes and do it forward. Bro, we did this a year and a half and we still get problems with buzzing noises, or I might make a mistake, I might step on a cable and
yeah.
You know what I'm saying, we lose the footage or whatever. And some would say a year and a half is a lot more than long enough time for us to kind of figure it out and no longer have these problems, but we still do.
Yeah, I think people still make mistakes even 10 years in. If you just don't hear about them.
I think my curiosity comes from what kind of mistakes do they make. I think that's the question I like to ask is like, what type of mistakes do you make versus what type of mistakes I make? Do you still make early bird mistakes, or like press a record, for example? Like that's like a, like I see it as press a record is like the bare minimum. How do you press record? Press the one button. But because when you advance so much, sometimes you forget these small things. So that's I've had the experience. Like I'm now like proper. Like I don't even know if this camera's recording. I can't even. Is it recording? Yeah, it's recording. That's my fear. Ask any client I ever had. I'm always like eyeballing the camera and it's like waiting for the red dot to come up and go away to know it's recording. There's times, it's fucking hilarious. There's times where, so essentially if it's recording, there's a red dot and it comes on, it goes off, comes on. And I look at it and I see no red dot. And there's like a long pause, like, oh, it's there. And it comes the last minute. Like, it gets a shout.
You must have PTSD from like
I've
things
had
that went
before,
wrong.
man. Yeah. I've had like situations where I'm filming. I think it's more forgivable for like events. Yeah. But I've had situations where I'm filming something. I press the record button, film the thing, and then press the record button again, and it starts recording when I turn it off. When I think I turn it off, which means me carrying the camera around is rolling. And then I hold it, I press it, and it turns off. But to my knowledge, I don't know that. And then I feel like I'm filming the thing. I'm so focused on the composition and what the shot looks like that I don't even notice the red circle in the corner flashing or not flashing in this instance.
That is wild.
And more time I don't even notice it until like I'm in post. Like I'm looking through the footage, like what's this like shaky thing that I just took? Is this me holding the camera or going from it? Yeah. So like these small like mistakes, they still happen.
Do you know what I like about that? Yeah, I like the fact that you're being honest about it because
I mean this could ruin my career, but I think that's one of the things that I use the most when it comes to working with people, is how can I make a people relationship. I don't have no relationship. Like even when I was working at O2, I was building relationships with customers that I would only meet maybe once or twice. Yeah. When they come back in, oh yeah, we said, you know what I'm saying, like we revisit. But a lot of time I don't know the person and I'll never see them again. A lot of other people that work in retail, they'll understand that this is the only time they're ever going to see this person, and they'll just end the relationship there. Serve them, do what they want, and piss off. That's kind of one of the things I kind of value the most, is creating a people-person relationship where you're not a client, you're not a number, you're not a bank statement. Yeah, you're a person. And creating that relationship, obviously, like there are like financial and career benefits to creating a good relationship with a person. They'll put you on, they'll link you up with other people if they like you. Those are like work-related benefits.
What if their first name was Bank and then second name was Statement?
What if you stopped making that
jokes? Do you know what it is? This wouldn't be a... Yeah.
Turn number 2 up a little bit, please.
A little bit up?
Yeah, please.
Jeez, come on.
Turn me up. A little bit, not too much. Yeah, so good. Yeah. So that's like, so the people relationship is what I value the most, right? And like I said, there are financial and career type benefits from it, but where I see value is in the, how can I make friends? I don't like I used to love the word networking. I'm going to network. This is a great opportunity to network. And no, it's just an opportunity to make some friends.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at making friends in a friendly sense. I'm amazing at making friends in a work sense. Just making jokes and shit. And
I've got a question on networking. Yeah, I don't want to hear your views on it. Do you think networking has like a level of manipulation? And is manipulation a harmful thing? Like, is that a negative thing? Or
I see manipulation. I think the word manipulation is just a word. And like all things, we create good or bad connotation, right? So I can manipulate someone. Like a lot of us manipulate children to do good things. Like one of the things that what's that guy Q, the guy that does the boxing courses.
Yeah.
So he told me a story. He told us a story that made me laugh. And
I'm looking up the definition for manipulation.
Yeah. So he would tell a story about how when he was younger, his parents would not analyze his piss, but like kind of tell him that the color of your piss, it'll be a big thing. So whenever you go to the toilet and urinate, whatever, take a piss, whenever he sees the color green, he panics. Like, holy shit, it's green, no fuck, I'm gonna die, whatever. And he starts drinking a bunch of water. Because the more water you drink, the clearer your piss is. And his parents manipulate him into believing that green piss is a bad thing. And if you have green piss, you're gonna fucking die. So I don't know what, it's a bad thing. But that's a form of manipulation. But because of that, he started drinking water more. He has a fear. He created a fear within himself that forced him to start drinking water. And now he's one of, was it London boxing, wherever, he's working in sports.
Yeah.
He had a couple of fights when he was younger as well. That's kind of like, I'm not saying that those two things relate, because that could lead him to being a technician. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that is a form of manipulation.
Well, and this is an interesting conversation because I feel like I've had a maybe like negative understanding, or always assumed that manipulation meant as it's a negative thing. But by definition in itself, there's also physical manipulation, which is like you can manipulate elements and stuff.
Can you manipulate your...
It's a control, like, you know, if there's like a mechanism you can manipulate.
Can you manipulate muscle memory?
I have no idea.
Because what is muscle memory? Like familiarizing your muscles to do a certain thing as a response.
So like manipulating your body.
Manipulating your body to respond in a certain kind of way.
I mean, yeah, that's an interesting point.
That's how Q was manipulated to respond to his piss being green.
Yeah.
His response was to go drink more water. That's his manipulating response. So muscle memory is a form of manipulation. When you manipulate, what is the definition actually? Because I might be chatting on my house.
Yeah, no. So it's to do with control and influence, which is, I find really interesting because there's two different definitions. For the physical stuff, there's is handle or control, and when it comes to people, it's more to do with control or influence, which is really interesting because
Influence is a big one, yeah.
Because there's a bunch of influencers online. And people are always influencing each other's lives. So everyone's a manipulator.
Are they manipulators?
Yeah.
Is that a new thing? It's not. I'm not an influencer. I'm a manipulator.
But that's the thing. So what I have, you know what's interesting? A lot of the times when we shoot these podcasts, me and you, we talk about language a lot.
Yeah.
And everything I realize it just kind of happens naturally. Yeah. And even this conversation as well.
Language is a sensational thing. I talk about language all the time. Like I had a conversation yesterday about feminine energy and masculine energy and how it has nothing to do with the gender. You associate feminine with female and masculine with male because of the words, but it has nothing to do with that. It's it's just a category. And like when we ask the question, are you more female, feminine, or masculine? Yeah. It's not are you a woman or are you a man. It's what category do you fit into more. Enough men have a higher percentage. I kind of see it as a percentage ratio, like 70, 80, 30, 70, whatever. 70, 80, sorry, 80, 20. Got my maths all wandered up.
Mathing, bro.
Mathing, man. But that's kind of how I see like the percentage. But the language thing is like that's why I find fascinating. Like I constantly talk about language and how we create language, and language means different to things to different people.
Because suddenly, like if you go online and people go, "I'm a manipulator," it doesn't sound.
People lose their shit.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that great.
Of course. Well, why does it sound?
It's the same thing as the influencer.
But the reason why it doesn't sound great is because there's a preset. And that preset is now put in
because it has an
minds.
element of control, right?
So it's influencing. People say that Andrew Tate is a bad influencer because he influences young people to do dumb shit or bad shit. Where in reality, he's just saying stuff. And they choose to be influenced. So is he manipulating them or is he influencing them? Because they do the same thing as someone like, I don't know, Gary Vee, who's influencing people to do better and create careers. They're doing the same thing. The action is the same. The foundation is the same. It's just the outcome is different. And the outcome is what determines whether he's manipulating or influencing. When in reality, they're the same shit. The outcome is the same. The action is the same. It's just how do you respond. The word manipulator and influencer is given connotations due to the preset that we've put in our minds based on our environment. To be manipulated means to be like, what's the word? Like to be forced in a way to do a bad thing or the thing that a person wants, which obviously must be bad, right? Because it's not what they want, and is out of will, whatever. But it's not. It's the same thing as influence. It's just where does your language come from? I think that's a question we need to ask ourselves. Where does my language come from? Who created my language? And can I now mold it to be what I want, or do I just do whatever I speak, speak whatever language has been given to me?
Well, someone pioneered it. Someone was a pioneer. I don't know how it came about. That's an interesting thing to look into as well. But then it's the environment. That's where the language comes from. It's like, who do we spend time with?
And like the whole thing of like if you, a lot of like people say like a romantic thing is when your partner starts using the phrases that you use, and that's a result of them spending a lot of time together, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great example. That your environment is what creates your language, but there's like a fine line between having it your language and just understanding it enough to go about your day.
Yeah. Because you know what? It's not just language though. There's also, I think, elements of like mindset. It's everything. It's literally everything. So for example, like I see a lot of that within Shay and Curtis.
Okay.
Like they've taken things from each other. There's that body language, things they do,
definitely.
how they say stuff. And I find it interesting. And it's also like, and I think it's that element of, because people maybe connect on a more relationship basis, like you said, and they kind of maybe see each other as someone they like to have parts of within them, or vice versa.
In a way, your environment is you adopting the language of your environment enhances the relationship you have with the people that are.
No, I think they adopt it because of the relationship.
Yeah, so but they do it to enhance the relationship, to have a better relationship, right? Like if I was in a space where everyone speaks in a certain kind of way, and I want to be closer to everyone, I want everyone to accept me, and I start talking like them, and I become a part of their group or environment, and that gives me that feeling of involvement and kind of that loving relationship, whatever. But it's like that we want that relationship, and we understand that language is one of the ways to get into it. So we start speaking like them, we start having our body language, start sharing the same mindsets as them, by eventually we're best friends. You see a lot of best friends are very, very similar.
It kind of becomes like a cycle though, right?
Also,
because when they start like sort of like maybe mimicking each other, or like using the same phrases or same body language, then that builds a stronger relationship, which means then they'll be more inclined to learn more of those sort of like qualities and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, to learn from each other. But then now is the thing is of, cool, let's say for example you have two people who are great friends and they have very similar mindset, body language, verbal language, all that stuff. And then one person kind of starts doing something or acting in a certain kind of way that's a bit iffy, and the other person notices it. Is that other person now breaking out of the cycle? So it's like, let's say for example, me and you, let's say like I would say we're kind of different. We have very similar foundations, but our beings are very different. If you start acting like a certain kind of way that I would disagree with, is that me looking at myself, because we're very similar, is that me looking at myself thinking, is this what I'm doing as well? Because I'm very similar to you, we're friends, so I'm very similar to you. I'm looking at that and noticing like a problem, and that's me breaking out the cycle just to look at it from like an outside perspective and then noticing a problem. Am I making sense? Because I'm not like it,
No, you're making sense.
To you, just makes yeah. So it's like,
by the way, never say that.
What was that?
Well, you can. Well, don't never say. Do what you want to do.
Based on your face, I just thought, yeah,
no, it makes
bugging out.
I'm in full, but
yeah,
the whole thing of like, I just want to bring this to the space as well. And
Nathan has this thing as well.
Yeah, no, but the whole thing of like saying something and going doesn't make sense. It kind of like takes away the confidence from what you're saying as well. And also, if it doesn't make sense, I think people will challenge you if
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So part of some people's language is if they're talking and they sound like they know what they're saying, don't question it, because they're probably right and I'm probably wrong.
Bro, how many times I've told you like I don't get what you're saying?
Very rarely. But that's probably because you fucking understand most of the stuff I say, which I'm surprised you do. But
sometimes I just go like, what are you saying?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I get it. Regardless, that is another thing of language. That's like another like language is sometimes it gives you self-doubt, right? Being familiar with a certain environment the whole thing of like if someone's talking a certain kind of way and they're showing a certain kind of body language, they must be right and I must be wrong if I don't understand it. And that's a what's the word? That's a result of the environment that you're in. Like people, like if I'm in a group and you're speaking, you're saying some profound stuff, you could be chatting a bag of shit. But if you sound profound, everyone's like, "Oh, this is valuable," and then I'm like, "No, I don't. He's chatting shit." But everyone else is saying he's saying valuable, so then you start getting self-doubt. That's a result of the environment. And when you're so involved with the environment, you don't even see that. You become part of the. I'm saying you become part of the agreeing group.
But yeah, I think so. It's also part of like what's the listening as well, right? Because they're listening differently too.
So how
and I think the theme now as well, just on that as well. What I realize, and I'm gonna go back to the things like how people receive us and how we portray, are sometimes two different things, and it meets in the middle. And I feel like that's with everything. It's like with listening, talking, and meeting people, body language, a lot of different things. So sometimes it's not even about what you're saying. Sometimes it's about how are people taking you in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
And
It's both. It's both.
Ultimately, that's something you can't control, right?
Yeah, which is the best way to live. It's like ultimately you just take responsibility for yourself mainly, and then hopefully that responsibility then trickles down and adds value to other people.
I think the responsibility comes from of course you have a responsibility to share what you're trying to share the best way you can in a language that the person understands. But of course it's their responsibility to respond, to receive it better. But it's also our responsibility to share the mindset and to share, like to speak in their language. Like one of the things we spoke about with Ashton is like what language do you speak and how, and not just like English, Spanish, Japanese, whatever. Like what individual language do you speak? How, like I understand your language. If I tell you to fuck off, you know what that means. That's your language. That's our language. We create a language between us and that's what we speak. But if I'm now trying to persuade someone or manipulate or influence someone to do a certain thing or to be a certain way, and I can't say it in my language, I have to either say it in our language or their individual language, and then they'll understand it. It's like when you explain, like if I was to explain, I don't know, if I was to, like when I was explaining frame rate, you're familiar with frame rates, how many pictures per second, FPS,
how many pixels,
how many pictures per second, how many photos or frames per second. Now I was trying to explain that. To me, it's the simplest thing in the world. Simplest thing in the world. It's just picture every single second. There's 60 or 30 or 25 pictures. Very, very simple. But I had to explain to someone that was that didn't understand it, and she wanted to get into Premiere Pro and all that stuff and so editing. But she also does fashion. She's into fashion. She studies fashion and stuff. So the way I explain it to her is fabric, right? Each strand of fabric is individual, like it's an individual strand. But when you put it together, it becomes a coat. But like they still comes from individual strands, and that's what I explained to her. So I learned to speak her language, and because I spoke her language, she now understood it, and it made a lot of sense to her. So I think that's the biggest responsibility when having a conversation and trying to share a mindset. It's not sharing your mindset. No, it's sharing your mindset, but using their language to share it. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, and a lot of people train to do it. And that's how coaches, a lot of life coaches, they become very good at their job because they learn to speak the language of their customer or their clients, whatever. That makes sense.
Yeah,
it does make sense. It doesn't.
See, we're learning.
It makes a lot of sense.
We're learning. It makes a lot of sense.
I've got a dry mouth, man.
And unnecessary information, but either way. So going back to the language thing, there's one word I realized I'd like to make a change in the world in total, and hopefully I can maybe start within this conversation. So I was just wondering, like, why are we using the word rejection instead of redirection? Because when someone's being rejected, to me, like, it sounds like they're being redirected.
I think it's
from
unintentional.
Something that's, for example, let's say if someone's applying for a certain job and they don't get it, they'll say they've been rejected. But to me, it sounds like that's a redirection because they're not probably meant to be working a job.
Rejection is.
I think that goes with everything, right?
Yeah, but I think rejection is what's the word when you don't do it on purpose? What's the fucking word for that shit?
Unintentional.
Unintentional. So rejection is unintentional redirection. Like there's intentional redirection where I reject you, but I also give you other paths.
Rejection is not accidental.
No, unintentional.
It can be very intentional.
No. So it's unintentional redirection. So the redirection part is unintentional. Yeah. So I was to fire you or reject you, and I was to give you another option or give you another path that's redirection. But if I was to reject you and fuck off and just not give you that's that you may be redirected within yourself. You create a redirection within yourself. But I played no part other than just to reject you. I didn't intentionally support you or give you another path to follow.
But look, doesn't it sound better, yeah, if someone applies for a job and then your friend goes like, how did it go? How did the interview go?
Yeah.
And instead of saying, I've got rejected, they said, I've got redirected.
That's a self. But then
it sounds like more empowering just in general.
But that's only a self thing, right? Like, well, I've been fired from jobs at the wazoo, and they call it firing. I can call it redirection.
You had more jobs than me.
I've had more jobs.
You had more jobs than me. That's crazy. And you're younger.
Yeah, but yeah, I get it. I'm self-employed now, which is fucking great.
Ooh.
Well, man. So I've been fired from a couple of jobs, several jobs.
Redirected.
But the redirection has nothing to do with the person that fired me. All they did is give me the opportunity to no longer work there, and then I went and then created a redirection within myself.
Oh, that's deep.
So it's self-empowerment, right?
Did you hear what he said?
Not really, no. I don't listen to myself.
You said, man said not really. You said they gave you an opportunity not to be there.
Yeah.
Think about it. They gave you an opportunity not to be there. So you never wanted to be there in the first place?
No.
Wow.
When I got fired from O2, I spoke to Nathan. I sent him a message, and then he called me. We had a conversation, and I told him, I mean, for starters, before I even land this point, I watched back the pod we did with Nathan, and you said to the camera, O2, if you're watching this, fire Aladdin. You said that, and it happened. Within like a month later, it happened. So, is that correlation?
I'm pretty sure they weren't watching.
They weren't watching, but you put into
actually. Did you not like share the pod with someone at work?
Not with. I shared it with Nathan. I shared it with some other people, but I didn't share it with anyone that has firing power. Actually, I think I did. You know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe they did watch it.
I did, but I did. She might have not watched it because she doesn't give a shit about it. But then when I shared it, it was during the interview and it was amazing. But she hated me after a while. Like after me working, she hated me. But maybe because it was Nathan, that might have, because obviously she employed him as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Regardless.
If you're still watching, by the way, because she still might be watching till this day. Well done.
Great. Thank you for the redirection. Thank you for the
thanks for the redirection.
For the unintentional redirection. But
he's doing way better than he was at O2, so
yeah.
it's great.
I love how like they gave me 30 seconds notice.
30 seconds notice.
30 seconds notice.
That is amazing.
No, I think it was minus 2 minutes because it was 2 minutes after my shift ended. That 2 minutes after my shift ended, they fired me. That's an amazing experience. I love to tell that story. But anyway, towards the last couple of weeks or even last few months, if anything, I had many opportunities to leave. I just wanted to get fired. That's what I really wanted. I just wanted to stop working there, but I didn't want it to be my decision. And I had some time to think about it, right? Is it because I was comfortable with being paid the amount they were paying me and I was happy making that amount from them, even if I had to suffer, and I just told people, hey, I just want to get fired, I don't want to leave? Or is it a thing where I was like dumb stories of how I got fired and that was an opportunity? Like one of the things I told Nathan when we had a conversation after I got fired was, if they just gave me like a normal firing where it's like, oh, cool, so
normal firing,
like I'm saying, like, oh, here's 2 weeks notice, we have to let you go to. I don't know, that's boring shit. I want a story. So the story was, I did the whole shift, like nothing. There's no concern or nothing. The lady that manages the managers came in and she left, and she didn't want to tell me herself, and then they gave me like minus 2 minutes notice, and that's a story that creates like a whole thing, and I cannot tell the story to everyone. And I like that, but like there was like this self-discovery of myself, or like, why did I stay? I clearly hated it. The benefits I was getting was like basically nothing. I think one of the reasons why I stayed a bit longer, well, what I told myself was I wanted to buy an iPhone 14 Pro, and it wasn't out at the time, and I was like 2 weeks or like 3 weeks. I got fired just before it came out, so I couldn't get the discount, but I got a phone regardless.
Couldn't like Nathan get you one?
No, he sells his discounts.
Oh, is that?
So you get like a certain amount. You don't get unlimited. You get like a certain amount of discounts, and he sells the discounts. So you have to pay to use his discount.
Oh wow!
It works out. You still save money there, but people take it, and you get a discount. You get a discount back after the contract finishes, the whole thing.
But listen, speaking of stories, yeah, like so far from all the experiences you had, what's like the one story you tell your kids?
I got fired from O2. And then 2 months later, I got fired from the podcast studio. I get fired a lot, you know. Have I ever left a job? I've never left a job. I always get fired.
Wow.
Does that mean I'm a bad employee, or does that mean I'm destined for self-employment?
You might just be stubborn.
That's not, but that could relate to either being a good self.
So actually, you know what? No. Let's break that down as well. But I want to get back to the story thing in a sec too. Yeah. But let's break that down. Yeah. So
keep talking. I'm gonna fix your camera.
So do you think it's just a coincidence that? That's actually kind of weird. But yeah, do you think it's a coincidence that you've been fired all these times, or do you think there's something to do with you that makes you fireable? By the way, we're shooting this. So obviously, for people that are listening to the audio, they won't see the. There's
physical, no one behind the scenes to fix
yeah,
the
for
cameras.
people that it's there's no Aladdin usually does the behind the camera stuff. So
yeah, man.
We ain't got another.
I shouted Sammy to calm down, but he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Question, please. I didn't.
Yeah. So the question is: so, do you think there's something about you that makes you fireable, or do you think it's just a coincidence that you got fired?
Well, what counts as being fired? Being fired is no longer being
redirected.
Sorry, yeah. Oh, in this particular instance, it's unintentional, but it's like you serve a role within the foundation. Yeah. I say it's the foundation.
Let me put it this way: yeah, there's you, and there's another person. Let's say there's another clone of you. Yeah.
How
no, just different mindset. Yeah.
So it's not a clone. It just looks like.
Bro,
go. I'm into sci-fi, so when you say these kind of things,
physical clone.
Okay, so it looks
not
like
mental clone.
Okay, so the brain is different.
Like, yeah. Wait, okay, twin brother. Does that help?
No, because it's the same upbringing. Just land your point before you.
What, are you telling me that all the twins are the same?
No, I'm saying that there's a high chance they'll be very similar people when they have a very similar upbringing and very similar experience.
They turn out to have completely different mindsets.
Not all of them. It's likelihood. It's probability, likelihood.
Most of the twins I've met, they end up.
How many twins have you met?
Maybe like 7.
7?
Yeah, 7 pairs.
How many twins are there on the planet?
I don't know.
So my response is just likelihood based on my own self-created logic.
But
make your point.
There's trainers, yeah. There's trainers, yeah. They look the same.
Yeah.
They look the same. However, they both experience different things.
But if you bought the trainers and your roommate bought the same trainers,
bruv.
and no, don't say bruv, because I told you to continue. You don't want to continue. You bought the trainers. Your roommate bought the trainers. You both went to the same clubs, the same parties, the same shops, wherever. The likelihood is you have if not very similar mindsets. But if you both bought the same trainers but you live in different parts of the country, of course, just because they look the same.
All right.
Land your point. You said cloned.
Let's get back.
I asked you didn't want to do it. That's your fault, man.
And listen, so
shifting responsibility.
So that person, let's say, is working in similar jobs or same jobs. Actually, you know what? It's exact same jobs as you. Just for context sake, here, I'm gonna make this easier. There's another planet. You like multiverse, yeah? Exact same Earth, everything's the same, apart from the mindset. Yeah. So there's another Aladdin, different mindset, working in exact same job, same conditions, everything.
Yes. Do
you think that person would get fired as well, or there's something about you that makes you fireable?
What's the difference in mindset? So everything that happens to me is a result of my personal individual qualities, what I have in myself and how I act, right? So everything that happens to me, everything happens for me is because of that.
Do you know what?
Because of my combination of...
I realized that the reason maybe you got fired is because you answer a question that's like different.
I'm leading up to it. I'm creating backstories so that my answer has more value. That's how you create a story.
Every
movie can be told in 30 seconds. We just don't do it because we want to create the experience of getting to the answer or getting to the final scene. Right? That's what I'm into movies, isn't it? Every movie can be told in that one sentence, but you have to go through the experiences before so you can create a relationship with the characters for when that final scene happens or that battle scene, wherever, you have the emotional attachment. So when I answer my questions, there is more value at the end, or I like to think there's more value at the end because of the backstory. I can answer your questions with one answer. It's probably done in 30 seconds. So,
all right, so back to the question.
That you interrupted and... Anyway.
So your answer is?
What is the quality that's different? No. That's because you just said if their mindset was different, would the outcome be the same? Well, yeah, fuck it. If the person was more stubborn, that's a different mindset. Of course, it'll be the same outcome. It's just everything that happens for me is a result of my individual qualities in that specific combination.
So I'm gonna go back to the question. Yeah.
Maybe ask it better.
Is you being fired, multiple times in a row? Was that a coincidence? Was that like accidental, or is there something to do with you that made you fireable?
Probably me. Probably.
I'm not saying it's you, by the way. I'm asking. I'm
but that's when I say.
What do you think?
When I say,
actually, you know what I'm saying is you.
Whoever. Anything I say, when I say the person I am today is a result of the combination of qualities that I have within myself, that is why I got fired, because of my individual qualities. Because I have a certain perspective, and I don't like to. Majority of the time, I don't like to shut up about it, or don't like to kind of sit down, cross my hands, and put my fingers on my lip. I'm very vocal about it. I like to be very vocal, and one of the main reasons is I don't care for the less more so O2 than the podcast studio. I had a bit more love for the podcast studio. Just towards the end, it got a bit more tedious. But with O2, I don't care about the company. I'm there for one reason only. Two reasons actually, technically: money, network. More money and friends. Sorry, not network. I'm there for the money. I'm there to make some friends, and I made some great friends when I was working there. But I met Nathan, Demi, and wherever. So the combination of qualities that I have in myself, mixed with the fact that I don't give a shit about the company, resulted in me caring less. I wasn't the worst performer. I think that's one of the main things I say. I wasn't the worst performer. Nathan was. Who's still working there and who got fired? Nathan was the worst performer. He's been working there before I got there, and he's still there to this day. I was there for about 5-6 months, and I was fired instantly. Why? He looks at that job and says, I'm here with purpose. I'm here because there is a reason I can benefit from being in this place. Like, his thing is he makes money whilst he's making money. He's like trading whilst working. It's like double income kind of thing. I had no benefit from like that. I have nothing to gain. So I cared less. So I was working less hard. I was creating phenomenal relationships with customers. I was creating an experience. But they don't care about creating an experience for the customers. They give a shit about the numbers. How many sales, how many posts, how many Virgin Media broadband sales can you get in a day? And that's where you get your reward. Doesn't matter about the relationship. Doesn't matter. And it's fascinating because all they care about is the sales, but I wasn't the worst performer, yet I still got fired. So they say that one of the main reasons is my schedule. I couldn't meet their scheduling. They want me to work on certain days, and I didn't want it, and I couldn't. Oh, it's not I couldn't. I didn't want to do it because I wanted to do other things, which I think was more beneficial. That's one of the main reasons why they fired me.
Do you know?
Stupid reason.
Do you know what I find really funny about this conversation? It sounds like they fired you because they had a bad relationship with you.
They had a bad relationship with my schedule.
No. But that's the thing. It's interesting because there's the element of he was saying they cared about themselves, but clearly if he was performing, you got fired for another. Yeah. So that means it's not about themselves. They don't care about themselves. That means they care about something else.
What is it? What they say? What they're saying? What is?
But what I'm saying, it proves the point of if you've been fired while performing, that means you got fired for no reason. So that means they don't care about themselves. They care about something else. If Nathan is performing less, that's something that Nathan is doing that they care about.
I have a good relationship with the manager.
So what value is Nathan adding?
I need to ask him that question. Let's think. The poor relationship was not with the manager, was not with the assistant manager, was not with the employees. It was with me refusing to me refusing to follow certain schedules because it doesn't work for me. I just told him I need these days off because I got other jobs. And the person above the managers was pissed off about that. I told you on the day I got fired, she came in for a little bit and she left and she fucked off. And within the next 20 minutes I was fired. And the manager specifically said that she wants you gone. I rarely have a conversation with her. Maybe one time, the last time I had a conversation, it was like, it was me sharing my opinion on why the company is run terribly. And she said, shut the fuck up. Like, essentially she just said, shut the fuck up to do your job, kind of thing. That was her response. So my poor relationship was with her. Someone I rarely talk to,
Well, what would you want to tell her if she's listening to this?
I understand why she does what she does. I understand, I get. But she's doing what every retail store or shop does.
Do you know?
It's just terrible.
Do you know what I want to tell her? I'm sending her love.
Yeah, of course. I think she's a great person.
Like I'm sending you love.
No, I think she's a great individual. She's poor at. I don't know. I don't want to say she's poor at creating relationships because I had an amazing relationship with her before. Like when I had my interview, it was a great interview. It wasn't even an interview; it was a conversation. A lot of laughs, a lot of sharing, a lot of talking. It was a conversation. Some of my early days when I saw her, we had a great relationship. It wasn't until towards the end when I started caring less about a company because the company doesn't care about me. That's when she took a hit. Her paycheck took a hit, and I think that's one of her boundaries. It's do what the fuck you want, but if my pay gets a hit, we have a bad relationship. That was her kind of thing. She had a company. She was running another. I think it was like a children parties. She was doing like a lot of children party stuff, like bouncy castles, candy frost machines, etc. And she was running that and managing O2. And I think she had a child, so that's a kind of a thing. Like childcare was like a very difficult experience for her. Yeah. Financially, I can only assume. So she was a great individual, lovely person. She'll be someone I have on the pod. I'll happily have her on the pod. It's just being that I don't think she's the type of person that should be doing that kind of job because she can add a lot more value to the world being elsewhere. She has a lot more value to add to the world. It's just her response to having to pay a certain amount for childcare, wherever it is, just do this fucking job that I hate. Deal with these people that I don't like. And I don't know, it's upsetting. Now that I think about it, it's upsetting that she'd be creating, and she does create a lot of value to the world with the whole kids parties or whatever. She creates amazing experiences for children. It's just there could be more.
Yeah, I listen. Fuck OT anyways.
Oh man, it's a good company. I still use their Sims and they have a really good. They got a really good Sims pricing plan and all that stuff. So I'm not too like I had an amazing experience when I was there. Like one of my bucket lists was to work for a phone company. Do me a favor, turn your mic so that it's facing you, please. Like angle it, yeah. So it was both of me is like facing up and whatever. Sorry. One of my bucket lists was to work for a phone company, and I got to be in that experience. I got to be in the heart of it. I got to experience it. I got to see it. I got to be in the room when it's I was in a room with like fucking 30 or 40,000 pound devices. Like for me, that's what makes me excited. I love technology, and I learned a lot from there, and I got amazing experiences. So fuck O2, but also don't unfuck O2.
Fuck OT anyways.
But also unfuck them.
Yeah,
I agree.
Fuck OT.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, going back to the story, man, you kind of worded that question as well.
What was this question?
This is going really, really good. Really good.
What's the pod go? This is the foundation of the podcast, man.
Yeah, basically, this is how it started. Remember when we had
okay, well, be careful.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Remember when we had we shot 2 episodes with just me and you that we never like put.
Oh yeah, before we started,
one just to kind of test it. Yeah, one in this room, one in the other room.
I think
that was interesting times.
We had the cameras in the shot. I think that BTS, if you kind of go through BTS, you see a lot of my development visually. You see a lot of your development, your talking, but you already started with like very, very good speaking skills and conversation skills.
Do you know what's hilarious?
What's hilarious?
To this day, I don't know if I should say this because the audience might be looking at those things after. You know when someone tells you something
and you start looking for it,
and then you look for it all the time.
Don't think about elephants. What are you thinking about? Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I say like a lot, like, and I say I think.
Yeah, but bro,
I think like,
bro, I edit this pod. I'm the only one that does it, and the one thing that's consistent the most about this pod is you. You being on this pod is the most consistent thing. I've noticed every single or everything you do. I see all of it. Is that a problem?
It's not a problem.
Why is it?
I'm just thinking, when we've started, I used to do this a lot.
Yep.
I think listen, that's gone. That's the one thing I'm going to get rid of.
You also used to do a lot of repeating the question when you got asked a question. So you get asked a question, you repeat the question, and you say, and you get like, it's like he gives you time to think, but you would still think after you repeat the question. So it's kind of valueless, but that's not a like trait you do. So I think that's really valuable that I was taught very early in my work career. I was in a documentary filmmaking course, and we was in an editing room, right? And the person that was directing, she said, I was like, okay, so we need to cut out all the ums and ahs. And she said, keep some of them. It creates personality. And to me, that's like really, really valuable. It's like, now I do it. Like now, like whenever there's like when I'm doing like a talking head is basically you talking to a camera or whatever. There'll be like a 30-minute of them talking, right? And there's bits where it's like they say, or like stuff like that. And I realized if you cut all of them out, it's almost like they're reading off a teleprompter or reading off a book or something. When you put them in there, it creates personality. Those imperfections, and I guess it's like a metaphor for life in a way, but those imperfections are what creates you as an individual. It gives you a better relationship with the person whilst you're watching it.
True.
It's really, really valuable stuff. So like even when you say ums and ahs, obviously with this one, I'm not going to cut it out. I'm not going to go and each individual and ah cut all that stuff out. But that is what creates a relationship. Every single thing you do, the hand movement, the body posture, the way you're sitting, the way you're talking, the words you're using, the language you've chosen, all that stuff creates you as an individual. And that's what tells the story. That's what allows a relationship with the person that's watching and the person on camera.
What if I'm the individual that creates all that stuff?
You create the relationship. Everything you do allows you to have a relationship with the person. Like, no one's going to listen. We hate those scripted podcasts. Not scripted, but like podcasts that are very kind of robotic and whatever. We hate them. And why do we hate them? Because we can't have a good relationship with those kind of people. Not the individual, not the person, the version of the person that is in front of camera. We can't have a relationship with them, which is why we don't like those kind of podcasts.
I don't hate them.
We don't hate them, but it's hard to create that relationship. So like if someone is very scripted in their podcast or whatever they're doing, it's very scripted and they're very reading. Like we struggle to have a relationship because they don't feel human. They feel robotic.
I mean, but that's the thing.
Kind of relationship with
some people prefer that. Like some people clearly prefer that. It's like, and the whole point of this is, people will say, "Hey, welcome back to whatever," and I know why they're doing it. I know why they're doing it. They're doing it to please the people that care about that stuff.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's when I say, so the way we do our pod is, the way we do this is we don't intro it. We prep a little bit, but.
So are we saying fuck the audience?
What's that?
Are we saying fuck the audience?
No. I always say fuck the audience. But no, it's nothing to do with that. I think it's just.
Nah,
we are a
love our
reflection.
community.
Yeah, of course. We are a reflection of what we like to watch because we like having a relationship with the person we watch. We don't take the traits of those we don't like to watch, do we? We don't do the things that we don't like. We do things we like. This is our fucking thing. This belongs to us. This is one of the only things that belongs to me and you. Very few things belong to us. Even your car doesn't belong to you technically. It belongs to the government.
Technically it doesn't, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But this belongs to us. We create the limitations, we create the boundaries, we create the rules.
No one can take away.
No one, so we get to choose.
Apart from all the streaming platforms.
Yeah, of course. Maybe find another one. There's always going to be another one. That's the beauty of the internet.
We'll create our own one.
That's also an option. Just get someone to code it. It's a nightmare. But as I'm saying, because this is our thing, it belongs to us, we get to choose how we create the relationship with the audience. So one of our methods of doing it is not doing an intro, going straight into it. Another way of doing it is using a very particular kind of language to help our audience understand what we're trying to say, giving examples in our language, and doing ums and ahs. Like allowing ums and ahs to just flow freely. Not a lot, because we know that too much gets annoying and tedious, but these are the things, these are the personality traits that we create, and that's what allows us to have a relationship with the audience. Now switch it up, and now if I was to set up properly like this and start talking like a robot and I start reading off a paper and being scripted, that's not what they come back for. That's not what we're here for. That's not us. This is not the experience we've created. So that's what I love about the audience that we have, and everyone that watches the pod. They come back for you because you have a very particular way of being, and that's what they like to watch. If you changed it, which is fine. If you changed it to what you'd like, they would go, but someone else would come and replace them, right? There's always an audience for something. But the audience we have right now like the way we are. And if you evolve, they might evolve with us. They might cut, but they might evolve with us. And it kind of goes back to the whole thing of like when I say don't do anything for the audience because there's an audience for everything. Just do what we love, and the audience will come no matter what. Isn't like inevitable. But that's kind of a bit. That's kind of go left a little bit.
No, I get that. What's your actually? Let's go back to the story thing. We avoided the question.
You, because I asked that question. I asked you to ask the question several times. Ask the question.
So the question is, so far in your lifetime,
Story for
with
the
the
children.
experience that you've had so far, what is the story you'd share with your kids?
I should use this time to think of the answer to that question. I don't really have an answer. I mean, one of the course, like I like, you
Also,
know.
do you want kids?
Huh?
Do you want
Yeah,
kids?
of course, yeah.
How many?
We have fucking, I don't know, however many I can deal with.
Obviously, it's not just up to you, but it would be.
Yeah,
up
so
to
however
another.
many, well, we've worked on it.
Like,
people,
what would be your like?
I don't know, because I've never taken care of a kid. I don't know, like, what is the stress necessary to, what is the myth? Like, there's people with one kid that are having a nightmare, and there's people with 4 kids that say that's not enough. So I don't have an answer to that question. It's how many I can deal with in that moment.
Are you the kind of person that doesn't decide something until they experience it?
Kinda, man.
Because it feels like that's your pattern.
No, I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah. No, I know you can.
I'm one of 3. I'm one of 3 kids, and I think 3 is the magic number because it's like they can have a relationship with each other and they can have fun. They can help each other. It makes sense.
I know, but what I'm saying, I'm not asking for your factual.
It's
Like,
my fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah, like you're furious. Like in theory,
Yeah,
like
give
how
me
many-
22
yeah.
do a football team. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, bro, like my fantasy would be to have a couple, maybe 3, 4, whatever, doesn't matter. That's my fantasy. But then come that first kid pops out the woman, and now I'm stressing my ass off for the next 5 years. Like, my mindset,
I don't want anymore.
I'm saying my mindset changed completely. Anyway, with the story stuff, I have this thing where I love creating titles for my stories. I don't even remember this way, but I used to do this like kind of storytelling thing a long time ago. So one of the stories I'll tell is that one time I had a job where the Uber got paid more than me. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. Like I like that. Like it's like creating a title for like, it's like a funny title kind of thing. Like the Uber got paid more than me on the job. Or that time where I gave this woman £400 worth of jeans when I was working at Topman. But she paid like £20 for them, or £30 for them. Those kind of things. Those are the kind of titles. But I don't really have.
Did you get fired from Topman as well?
No. Yes. No, that's different. They were relocated. They said they were relocating, and they had to get rid of some people. But they didn't end up relocating. So yeah, I got fired from Topman as well. I got fired from Lovely. I got fired from Travelodge. No, I left Travelodge. That's different. I just stopped going.
Yeah.
Boy, I think the self-employment thing is really how it works. But even then, it's a nightmare, man. Self-employment is very difficult. Like I've grown a bigger respect for like a lot of entrepreneurs and self-employed people that work for themselves. And
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
yeah, but it makes sense why there's a lot of retail jobs that people are looking for. It makes sense why people go to jobs that they hate. It's security.
Yeah.
It's less stress. It makes sense for a lot of
I
people.
think that's the sell of those jobs. That's how they sell them. Just you're gonna have fixed salary, and
you have to create. You have to create anything. We create everything for you. You just do the thing that's very simple. Like a lot of retail jobs is very, very simple. Fold some clothes or sell a phone or I don't know, make a burger or something like that. Very, very simple jobs. You just have to do it on repeat. And that thing on repeat is what makes you brain dead. And it makes your life so more difficult. But once you leave it and you get that paycheck, like, yeah, this is better than having to work for yourself. But I think that working retail is a very short-term mindset.
You know what? You're the kind of guy, I just realized, if you worked in McDonald's, you're the kind of guy that would put 5 patties in single cheeseburger.
Yeah, if I can. Do you want that? I never actually I worked in food. I think you've worked in food before, innit?
Nope.
Never?
Nope.
Working in food is like one of the biggest things.
I worked as a club promoter.
Yeah, you worked in a bar, no? Didn't you work in a bar?
Oh yeah, I worked in a bar as well, yeah.
So I guess that's...
But before that, I did some club promoting for a club called Pasha.
Pasha?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went great. I didn't get fired.
You never been fired, have you?
No,
You've never been redirected.
No. So when I was working in the bar called Crystal, I don't know if it's still open anymore.
The one in West,
Northwest,
next to Wembley, innit?
Yeah, next to Wembley, yeah. So when I worked there, long story short, my friend at that time, I'm not friends with him no more anyways, but he was stealing money basically from the cash till. And what happened is that they couldn't figure out who it was. So they just basically like fired everyone. Yeah. And got new people.
Yeah, I guess that counts as a fire.
But he used to like steal like £200 a night.
Serious?
Yeah. He used to give me like 50.
I think just shut the fuck up.
Nah, just because I'm his friend.
I think it's a lot more difficult. It was way easier to start still back then. Now it's just like they do like this thing called cash. I think it's cash or something like that, where they count all the money they've made
Yeah,
that day.
it's
It's a myth.
And at one point I was telling him like they'll probably put like a camera somewhere or something. He's like nah. But yeah, I don't know.
No camera in the bar.
No, they had camera, but not towards like the till or I don't know how
the
it
one
was
thing
doing.
that makes some money.
I don't know how I was doing because basically what happened, there was two separate locations. I did like 2 different rooms, and I was working at the other bar. So he was working at the bar they were stealing money from. So I don't know how he was doing it because I was working at the other bar. But yeah, like the music was so loud in there, I couldn't even hear like people's orders.
Serious.
That's how loud it was.
Yeah.
And it's like they'll ask for something, I'll probably make
But
them
I'm
something
saying
else.
that working in that environment, I think working in food especially, I would always say like anyone that's young, work in food at least once. Do like a couple weeks in McDonald's or something like that.
Yeah,
but it gives you that experience. I worked in I had a very, very low version of working food. I worked in the cafe in Travelodge. So I was like making the food, serving the food, being a waiter, whatever. And it wasn't like obviously it was a cafe in a hotel where you get like maybe the most amount of people you get in any given day is maybe like 10 people, opposed to a restaurant with like hundreds. But when there was Comic-Con, when it was Comic-Con at Excel, it was a nightmare, bro. We have like 50 people in that tiny ass cafe. But that's what I'm saying. That's working in an experience that allows you to create a relationship with the people that you're working with, and it helps you understand. It gives you like standard restaurant etiquette. The first time I went to a restaurant when I was younger, I took my plate and took it to the front, whatever you call it. Like I just gave him my plate, so I'm finished. Here you go. Obviously, you meant to leave the plate on the thing, but I didn't know that at the time. But that was my standard kind of mindset. And like even stuff like getting tips, people leaving money on the table. Like when I first got a tip, someone left like I think about £5 on the table. And I looked, I'm thinking, like I was trying to hide the fact I was taking it, but it was for me. It was fascinating. Like
did you guys not have like
a tip jar? No,
yeah, no.
They'll leave money on the table.
Is it?
Yeah, and like I was looking at thinking, is it meant to be there? I was proper sly taking it, thinking I was doing something wrong, but it was actually money for me.
Do you know what's interesting? I like that like solidarity aspect as well in some places, and I guess that's like a teamwork thing where people go, you know what, like someone might be better than one of the bartenders in terms of like creating an experience. They might be getting more tips, but people go, you know what, regardless of how many tips someone's getting, we're a team. And we're going to get it all together and we'll divide it equally.
But then that kind of goes...
But that can also create issues as well.
You know, that goes back to the whole thing that Nathan said about... Like, if I do barely anything and get paid same amount as next man that does all the work, like, what's the point? And it kind of also, like, fucks up your idea of having a company where everyone gets paid the same, no matter what they do, no matter what position they are. But I think that'd be a great idea. I think that'll be... Like, creating a business where the more harder you work, the more you get paid. I think that's a great foundation for any business.
Well, I think it kind of already exists, but it depends on what workplace that's happening in it.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Because some people recognize it and some people don't.
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes. That's like commission kind of thing, innit? Like when you work off commission, it's harder you work, the more you get paid. I think less about harder. It's less about harder, more about what smart. That the smarter you work. I could work very, very hard. I get paid a bunch of money and I have no back, or my knees are fucked. Is it worth it? Like, is that working harder, working smart? Is working very stupid or very, very difficult? That's what's changed. That's like the main version of our evolution as humans. We start working less hard and more smart, and using hard work as a resource opposed to the main thing. Now, working hard is a resource to working smart. Working smart is like the main thing. Like, be intelligent with where you want to put your energy, because energy is a resource. The same way money and time is a resource, so is energy. You have like a certain amount of it. And you do more exercise, you eat better, you get more of it. The same way you work more shifts, you get paid more money, or you sleep less and you get more time. Energy is the same thing. This is a resource, and we apply it to working smart. I think working smart is like that should be the foundation of everything we do.
So what defines hard work?
Hard work is doing the thing. No matter your emotion, no matter your body's response, is doing it no matter what. That's what hard work is, which is why I say
it's interesting because I feel like when people talk about
you change your seat position at least 20 times. You said, I'm going to sit like this, I'm not going to change. And I was like, and then like this, and like that. You just keep changing your seat.
Why are you hating for?
Because the shot is not going to be consistent. It's going to be a nightmare, man. It's going to be, your head's going to get cut off. I'm sorry, it just comes from
Is that better?
No, because the headroom. Whatever. Please continue.
So there's extra headroom now.
You have a lot more headroom. I can fix it. I'm not gonna, but I can.
Better?
They're talking to a future version of myself. Yes, a bit better. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool.
You're saying hard work.
Yeah, I think I lost the point now.
Okay.
Thanks for
losing it.
Yeah, thanks for losing it.
Well, coming up anyway. Cool. What's
No, I'm gonna ask you something.
okay?
Define society in 3 different words.
Easily manipulated. Would you count that as a 1 or 2?
I was just gonna say 3 separate words and say why you're picking that word, but
No, easy manipulated, no space, but 1 word. We create our own language. Easy manipulated. And I guess it kind of goes of the influence and manipulation. You know, instead of thinking of other two, I'm going to explain the first one, and that might help me with the other 2. I think it's very easy to manipulate the masses. It's very easy to get a bunch of people to follow a certain mindset. And the way you do it is by understanding social media, understanding social ways of being, and using that to kind of force your... So Andrew Tate is like the best example. He understands that you have, like, saying a matting will get the numbers. And then with that, you now have power over a bunch of young people and a bunch of men and whatever. And even like the media and like the stuff like I saw this the other day. It was fascinating. When I was on a train, I saw a woman reading a newspaper on the train, and it got me thinking about the whole thing. You're saying how you find it crazy how people will look at a piece like a newspaper on the train, pick it up, read it, and just believe whatever it says. Like I saw someone else say, like, the world is backwards. Like, news is meant to give us the facts, and we're meant to formulate our own opinion. When instead, what news does is gives us an opinion, and we're meant to find out where the facts are. It's backwards as hell. So like the whole, like when I say easy manipulated, is just they just give out information, and if it comes from a certain place, then we just automatically believe it true, and we call it a reliable resource. When anyone has the power to, and probably they have the power to do it, and they probably will do it, where they just make up some BS because it benefits them.
I disagree with you. I don't think it's easy. I think it's very hard, and I think the reason I say that is because people that want to create a genuine positive impact and influence in the world, like, they're not in a position to manipulate in the best way possible.
No, they can.
Well, okay, cool. If it's easy to manipulate, can you do it then?
No. The problem with those kind of people is we don't know.
Easy, can you do it?
No. Let me explain this point. They don't know. We don't know what they say, if they're saying is something valuable or not valuable, because we are so flooded with all this other stuff that is some mostly bullshit. When something that actually is valuable comes, we just throw it away with the rest of them. That's why it's a bit more difficult. I think it's very easy to manipulate, like to influence people to do good things. It's just we can't tell what's good and bad. Is that the whole thing of like, 1 death is a tragedy, 100 deaths is a statistic, and the whole, like, and the other thing, like so I saw this thing on kind of related to Star Wars recently, where they say like one tragedy, one horrific event is very easy to consume and to understand. But if I do 40, by the time you even understood the first one, there's already been 40. You can't compute, so you just want to be left alone. That's what happens in Star Wars. That's what happens in the government. It's like there's so much shit happening in the world. Like, a lot of people talk about free Palestine and free Ukraine and this, whatever. But that's not it. There's a fucking bunch of other stuff that's happening. We choose to ignore it because there's so much and it creates so much that we say, you know what, fuck it, leave me alone. Like, there's so much happening. I just want to go sleep. I'm just going to watch YouTube videos in my bed. That's the kind of world we live in. It's just, that's how easily it is to manipulate people. Is just do a bunch of bad shit so that it comes too much to consume, and you just want to ignore it. And then that's how they kind of use that to kind of manipulate the world and wherever. That's the world we live in. It's a nightmare, but I guess it's the only one we got.
What if someone said, instead of like, who's your role model, what if someone said, who's your manipulator?
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation.
That's a great question.
I know,
though.
but
Like,
I think that's my favorite takeaway. That's probably like my biggest takeaway from this conversation. What's your definition of the word manipulator? You're a big manipulator of mine. You've allowed me, you've given me access to a different way of thinking, and I've looked at that and thought, you know what, that's actually a really interesting way of thinking. I've taken it and allowed it to become part of my life. I've described both a manipulator and an influencer and a role model all in one sentence. They all mean the same thing.
Technically,
Is it the language that's different?
It goes back to the thing of like, relationship with language. So it's like, what does that word mean to someone? And it's like, how do we use it? And it's that thing of like, everything has got a different description. For instance, going back to the thing, it's like if someone's being arrested, like they'll call it arrested, right? So police officers, what's the action? The action is the being physically detained, cuffed, whatever, and they're being put in another like location or in a cell, whatever, yeah. But then if someone's kidnapping someone, they call that kidnap. But the action itself is the same. There's no difference. The only difference is
one is with the government.
Yeah, the only difference is the language they use for it.
And who
does it?
Yeah,
and who's doing it?
Same thing with same with drug dealers and pharmacists.
Yeah.
Same thing can be applied.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And what I've kind of like got to in life at the moment, I'm figuring out what labels are actions having. So it's like start looking at the action, like what's the action? The action itself, not the label, because the action can have 100 labels.
Yeah.
Like the whole like tax thing. So for example, if I'm walking down the street and someone came and robbed me,
or took a percentage of the money that's in my pocket.
Someone robbed me for my cash, and the label I'm using is robbery. Someone's robbed me of my cash. And most importantly, I wasn't willing to give that cash. So I'm being robbed, right? I'm not willing to give it.
Yeah, I don't.
And now if the government's taking tax from my pay every single month, I'm not giving my permission, but they're still doing it. Why isn't that called a robbery?
Do you know what's really, I think...
But action's the same though, right?
Yeah. I just realised that could be... some might take as profound. I know the government never do this. I think a successful government would do something like this. Make tax optional and show them what tax does. So make paying tax a thing we choose to do. The reason why we wouldn't... If tax was optional today, we wouldn't pay it because we can't see the benefits of paying tax. Like, yeah, we see a lot of the NHS is running and it's cheap/free and roads are being built, whatever, but it's like...
Well, we're also paying some people's salaries.
You know what I'm saying? But there's no significant, like a proper significant thing happening. There's like there's still bumpy roads and there's still like a lot of fuckery. And there's a lot of people paying tax. So that should be covered. If tax was optional and governments make it clear, this is what we're doing with your money. We're creating clean roads, we're creating a clean park for kids to go play in, we're creating clean energy and promoting more like electric cars instead of gas and diesel cars so that the area is clear, and they're showing what the tax is being used for, people will be paying tax voluntarily, then it won't be robbery.
Listen,
but
every single year I pay road tax. Every single year.
And you still do this?
Yeah, and I'm still going through potholes and they're fixing the same road for 5 days in a row, causing traffic.
Yeah.
And I realized that what we're doing with tax money is, by the way, that's some good.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, but like the percentages is off.
That's some good in paying tax as well. There's, you know, like you got the whole like NHS, like even that's a different conversation. But anyway,
it's the percentage.
Listen,
good
but
is
the
such
point,
a low.
The point I'm making, is that we're just funding other people's salaries as well. Yeah. So it's crazy how some of the taxpayers' money will go towards someone's high-paid salary, and those same people are getting less salary than the people that...
And the people that the salaries we're paying is also getting taxed. And where does that money go to?
Do you know what?
Funding prison food and...
I like what Voltaire said once on a podcast.
What's it? Shouldn't be paid.
Yeah, said a politician shouldn't be paid.
Yeah, I get it. That and optional tax is the foundation of a successful government. But successful for what? Because I think this government we have right now is successful for what they want to do. They're doing amazing work for what they want to do. Amazing work. not for what the people want to do. One of the things that I saw on social media recently with the same video that said the whole media is meant to create facts, so we choose an opinion, but it's actually the opposite. He said the government is meant to know nothing about us because we're private citizens, right? So the government should know absolutely fuck all about anything that we do, and we should know everything about them because they are public service. But it's the opposite. We know fuck all about them, and they know everything about us.
Yeah,
we live in a backward society. And like I said, they are doing amazing work for what they want to achieve. It's just what they want to achieve does not benefit the civilians. It just satisfies the bare minimum. Just enough to get us to shut the fuck up. Just enough so that we don't riot, not we riot already, but like we're talking crazier.
Oh,
more.
they're there for themselves, right? Like they have their own internal drive for why they're there, for why they're doing
and it works very well.
And people forget that. Like people forget that there's a reason why people do certain things. Like I don't know what the reasons are because I don't know them, but I know there's a reason because they have a selfish gain from that too. It's not just about like, it's not like they go like, oh, I want to like make this country a certain type of way. It's more about if I do this, I'm going to also get this. I think that's an issue sometimes.
The thing is, what I said when Ashton was here, I don't think any of these people have a malicious intentions for the civilians. They don't want to like hurt the people. They just want to have benefit from themselves, and by extension, we get fucked in the process. The same way, if I want to build a road and there's an anthill in the way, I just want to build a road. So by extension, buy an anthill. I don't have no intention malicious. I want to hurt that. I just want to pull their legs off one by one. I just have to do that. And the government has the same kind of, I believe it has the same kind of methodology. It's like they want to benefit. And if for them to benefit the most they can, some people have to get fucked. That's the world we live in. And that's kind of like, I don't know, like, is it like an animalistic instinct of like, we are in competition and it's always like the survival of the fittest, and the fittest is no longer physical strength, it's position in companies and stuff like that, or governments. And I don't know, but we do live in a fucked world. We live in a world where, we don't live in a world. I live in a country where it's the survival of the fittest. And it's so much so that acting nice is a surprising thing. Now go somewhere else. Go to Finland and Bangkok. I don't know, some other country that have an amazing government that I'm not aware of. Very, very different foundations. Now they're creating amazing progress in schools, and like a lot of things are free, and living there is amazing. But I don't know about that. Why is that? Because the media is hiding that shit. If I'm living in a garden where all the plants are fucked and there's shit everywhere, and I see a garden that's beautiful, plants growing out the bloody wazoo and flowers and flipping trees and shit. If I see it, I'm gonna go there.
Man said the whole jungle.
You know what I'm saying? If I see it, I'm gonna go there. But I can't see it because it's a brick wall. And from my experience, all I know is this. I was born and raised in this, and this is what exists for me.
Oh, media's not hiding it. Media's not sharing it. I think it's
intentionally hiding it, man.
You think it's intentional?
I think it's intentionally hidden.
I mean, it can be intentionally not shared.
Yeah, that's
How can they hide something we have access to?
No, they're hiding, sharing it from their source. Yeah. Like, bro, we see enough times we see something.
So what I'm saying, they're not sharing it. So I'm like, fuck the media anyways.
Of course.
But also, like I realized when I was doing the agent episode as well, is that we spoke about media. This is media as well.
Yeah. But this is our thing. Yeah. So we get to create ways. I think the media, media hides it because it exists in the world. If I go on Google and type in what country has the best school system or the best governments, whatever, it's gonna come up. I'm gonna have to go down to like page 5 of Google, but I'll find eventually that information is out there. We just need to go and find it. And the thing is, what the government has done, and I have to give them, is fucking smart. They've created an environment where it's comfortable to stay here. Are you familiar with like ecosystems when it comes to technology? You know about ecosystem, and
I don't know what I know what the ecosystems are, but I'm just saying I don't know what the actual details of the ecosystem.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, an ecosystem is like a garden, right? It's like a garden that looks nice.
But I'm saying, how does that relate to technology?
Yeah, so the Apple ecosystem, for example. Yeah. You have an iPhone, and you want a smartwatch. You have to get an Apple Watch because they work very well together. If I've got a Samsung Watch, they wouldn't work together. I want a tablet. I'm gonna get an iPad because they work very well. Like I can AirDrop, and I want a PC. That's kind of the ecosystem. You stay within this bubble because everything just works.
Isn't that just like monopoly? It's sort of. So the reason I say that is because a lot of companies do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like for example, even not just with technology, right? It's like, let's say a company that started, I don't know, what is it, like a water company, which is basically Coca-Cola owns all of them anyways. That's a different conversation. But as an example, and they go, you know what? Now we want to like get into like cereal business. Yeah. And it's just like that's just monopoly.
Yeah. So you just kind of no. But the reason why I said this is that's what an ecosystem kind of the metaphor is a garden that it's nice. It's a nice garden. Looks good. Like fucking trees and grass and shit. Yeah, it's nice. But there's walls, very 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 high walls. No roof though. No ceiling. No dome. No roof. No nothing. You can still look over and jump. No, you can jump over and go to the other gardens, which are significantly better because you can't see them. And because you're so comfortable here and this works, it's like it's not about what's best, it's what works. And this garden is fine. Like I'm saying, like, every now and again a plant might die, or the fruit might be a bit, but like sometimes it's good. There's comfort here, and as much as we have, it's like it gives us the illusion of we can go there. Here's a ladder, here's the wall. You can go on the other side. You can go experience the other garden that's way better. But like, look how comfortable you are here. This works. This is fine, right? Yeah, like every now and again the apple might taste like shit, but then what about the time that it didn't taste like shit? You like that one, didn't you? That's what essentially an ecosystem is like. Essentially, like the garden is like Apple's technology garden over there is like Samsung, and we can see that they're better, but because we're so comfortable here, it creates the illusion that we're stuck here. Like so, and I relate back to kind of what I'm saying with the whole government thing. We have access to go to Finland and Thailand and all these other countries that are probably way better than what we have right now. But there's an illusion that's created that we have to stay here. Home is where the heart is, and this is comfortable and this works well, and only very few of us break free, and the rest of us just keep doing what we're doing here because it works, and it works. Not well, but it works. And like we've created this kind of mindset of if it works, it's good enough. Because we're thinking about so much stuff of paying bills and taking care of people, if some people have children and creating a family and doing work and doing this and this. We have so much responsibility that as long as something just works, that's good enough for me. And I can think about other things. Some things don't work, so I need to make them work. And when this one works, cool, now this one falls to shit. So like it creates the illusion of just I have to stay here because it's fine. And I guess there's also like a fear of life in a different country and all that stuff. Yeah, so I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'm gonna go all day.
All day long.
All night long.
Should we start closing it?
Yeah, man. All right. Well, you're not gonna ask me if I want to promote anything.
Definitely not.
Well, I have one thing to promote. It's just this fucking pod. But I do want to. I started asking this question last week, and I want to ask it to you. What do you have to promote that doesn't belong to you? Do you have a book to promote, a movie to promote, a podcast?
I want to promote life.
Yeah, explain. Give me some.
It doesn't belong to me.
Your life or life as a whole?
Just a whole.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I want to promote Glass Onion on Netflix. It's a good movie, man. It's a good movie. It's a detective movie.
Netflix,
yeah. It's a good detective movie. I advise people to go watch it. Obviously, Avatar. I'm a movie guy in it.
By the way, did you know why Netflix they decided to do that free version of Netflix? I've heard about that.
Yes, the free version that has ads and
because basically since COVID's been done, it's just
Netflix are fucked.
Yeah, they're just way more.
They've lost so much money. Like ever since Disney Plus came out and like HBO Max, Netflix has been. And they started that kind of like only accepting. I think it's like big budget movies only, not small budget. But also they put the price, like they put a price up. I was just like, that makes no sense. No, it makes sense when you see how much their stuff plummeted, bro. They've lost.
No, but then I think them putting up the price has contributed to them losing more money because the reason being is because
no one wants to pay that much.
I think number one is greedy. Number two, there's better like providers out there. Yeah. Number three, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when I saw the price increase, I cancelled my subscription.
Yeah, my one increased.
Even if it was like I can't remember, it was like £2 or £3 or something. But I was just like, you know what? Fuck you, anyways. Like,
well, not all of us pay £4 a month for Netflix Premium. I don't know. I don't do it, of course.
Oh yeah.
I don't pay for it.
Sure you don't.
I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it. But
So people can actually. I'm not gonna say.
you know, when we get sponsored by a VPN, we'll talk about it. How about that?
You're right. Actually, I don't think I'm even legally allowed to say this. Anyways, that's why I'm not gonna say it.
It doesn't matter.
You know the whole thing of like, if like you can't give like financial advice and whatever.
Well, you can if you just don't say it's not financial. If you just say, I'm not giving financial advice.
It's not financial advice, and they give financial advice.
That's just what
That's true. It's like a disclaimer.
As long as you say a sentence, it covers you up. Like you're good. Like even like the whole thing. I was thinking about the whole thing of like, you know, if you're in court, you have to hold like put your hand on the Bible, put a hand on wherever, say I promise to tell the truth, all the truth, nothing but the truth. What kind of barrier is that? That's like some spider web barriers. Like shit, I can just walk through that shit. Like no, I can just lie. People do it regularly. Just check through the fucking ass.
It doesn't do anything.
Like, what's the point of it?
It's just more like part of the ritual, isn't it?
It's a ritual that has no effect nowadays.
Yeah.
That lying is such an easy thing to do, and like I said, saying that sentence is equivalent to having a door and the lock is a spider web. Just pull that shit open and fucking do whatever I want to do. People are regularly lying in court.
Maybe lying isn't the easy thing to do. Maybe just telling the truth is hard.
Yeah. Some people find it a lot more difficult to lie than it's the truth.
What was I going to say to you? So yeah, I don't want to use the traditional question.
Why not?
Because I want to do something special for this one.
Oh, special. I feel so loved.
What do you want to tell our community?
Our community?
Yeah,
Wow.
and we can look at the camera. So to all the listeners out there, all the supporters, all the people that are part of this conversation.
Okay. I'll ask a very simple question. Why are you watching this pod? I've said this for a very long time. The longer we do this, the more followers we get. Eventually, we get monetized and we start making money from whatever. That's inevitable. It's so inevitable that I don't even think about it. It's just a matter of time. So my thing is, how can I create the most authentic and powerful audience? And the way of doing that is not telling them to do a thing or kind of promoting anything. It's just promoting. It's more of promoting a question for themselves. Why do you watch this podcast? Ask yourself, why do you watch? Do you watch it because you know us personally and you want to support us? Do you watch it because you actually take some valuable stuff from this? Do you watch it because, I don't know, you like the individual that we have sitting in this chair at that day, you have an interest in that person and you want to, wherever it is, why do you watch a podcast like this? And then comment the answer.
Or do you watch it because no one else is watching it?
Maybe that's so. Why do you watch the question? Like, what's the reason? What do you gain from this? What's the purpose of it? That my biggest goal, and you probably have the same goal as me, but my biggest goal isn't to create the biggest amount of following. It's to create the most authentic and powerful following. I want you to follow us into creating a better life for each other. I want to do these party viewings where we get audience members just to come and fucking watch the videos with us or have a powerful conversation. I want to know these people individually. I don't like seeing numbers, and like numbers is like when you see a certain amount of subscribers, you look at that and think, you don't think these are individual people. For the record, they're probably Muslim bots, let's be honest. They're like bot accounts and stuff like that. But that's not why we do this. We do this because we want to be powerful. We want to create a relationship. At least I do it, and I don't want to speak for you, but I believe you have the same mindset. I want to create a powerful relationship with the people that find us powerful. I want everyone to comment. Comment, why do you watch this podcast? What do you get from it? And I guess, what have you gone from it in the past year and a half that we've been doing this?
Should probably ask that at the start.
Yeah, because they're probably gone by now, innit?
Yeah, by this point, everyone's tuned out, probably.
It's all good, man. It's whoever, doesn't matter. I'm going to ask this question not every single, but like I'm going to continue to ask this question. And some people would remember the first time I asked it, which is here. Some people won't. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like
my message to the community is,
I
love you.
Who asked?
Your mum. Your mum asked some really good questions.
Powerful, isn't it? It's a really powerful question, man. That's just how I should have more conversations with her. What was your? Now I'm asking, what's your message to the audience?
I love them.
Why?
Do you know what I realized? Yeah, I wanna, and I like this term, like operate. I wanna operate from love. Like I do it anyways, but I'm becoming a bit more conscious now, and I'm just like, not to be like this hippie, but like sometimes I look at people and just say, you know what, like I've got love for you.
Why?
It's free.
You love because it's free. You love them because
it doesn't cost anything.
You just want to, okay.
Why can't I, you know, just do things out of love all the time?
You can. It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Well, that being said,
Operate from love rather than fear.
operate from what?
Operate from love instead of fear.
Fair. Oh, we said fair.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Nothing's fair.
My broski.